Hold on, before we get started, let me go ahead and apply some lipstick, nothing new, just some old Vaseline chapstick. And why? Because these new look patterns are repeats. So we gotta repeat the Vaseline, all right? So let's go ahead and get into these new look fall 2024 patterns that just dropped. So if that's some content you would like to see, please continue to watch. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Rochelle from Rochelle.Handmade.Designs, and in this video I'm going to share with you those 10 new look fall 2024 patterns that just dropped today, Saturday, September 7th, as of the recording of this video. But if you are new to the channel, welcome. Hello, Ciao, Guten, Aloha, Hola, Konnichiwa, Gwaan, Sabonani, Shalom, Bonjour, Terve. Hey, if you're returning, you guys know what to do. Quick snack, beverage of choice. Grab your notebooks because I'm going to say you really don't need them because we're going to get into this, okay? So without further ado, to keep this video short, sweet, give you all the deets and the news that you can use on this video, let's go ahead and talk about it, shall we? All right, so first things first, around lunchtime today, September 7th, as of the recording of this video, 2024, of course, Simplicity.com decided to drop these new fall 2024 patterns. Now, let's not act like we don't know that they are repeated patterns. So I'm going to show you guys how you guys can save you some more money. Go to your stash after this video and then see if you have these patterns. Why? Because these are repeat. I want to say all of them except for one. If it's not exactly a dupe, it's pretty much the similar pattern for it, okay? That you just make one or two hacks and you got the same thing. So this collection starts from New Look 6785 and goes all the way to New Look 6794. So it's only 10 patterns that I'm gonna show you. So let's go ahead and start off with the first one, which is New Look 6785. I'm gonna put all the patterns up on the screen as well as the artwork as well, the line art and the back of the pattern envelope, so you are able to see that, okay? So first things first, so let's go ahead and get into the first pattern, which is 6785. So 6785 is this Mrs. Dress Coat jacket and bag pattern. Now this pattern reminds me of three different patterns. The first pattern that it reminds me of is Simplicity 1458, which came out in like 2014 as like an amazing fit pattern for Simplicity. It also reminds me of Butterick 6850 as well, which is another older pattern that they reissued. But that coat reminds me of New Look 6514, which Montoya Mayo, she did a full sew along for it. I have also made this so-called kind of like open front duster style jacket 2 or 3 times on the channel as well. And I have showed that. I have made it all in Ankara fabric before. But that's what this pattern reminds me of, those 3 patterns. So let's go ahead and get into the pattern description for this pattern. So this pattern is a sleeveless A-line pattern, A-line princess theme dress. It has back closure, zipper closure, and comes in 2 lengths. So it features a long sleeve coat and jacket, which have bust darts. View E has a frog closure and View F has a matching tote bag. Now this is a easy to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 10 to 22 on that pattern. Now remind you that all new look patterns are paper patterns only. So if you are looking to get them in PDF, it's not available. You have to purchase from simplicity.com or Joann's or any pattern store that features new look patterns, I should say. Let's go ahead and talk about the fabrics that you can use and the notion. So in terms of the fabrics that you can use for this pattern, it's your challis, your crepe, your cotton or lawn cotton, your silk, your rayons, linen blends as well. So double Georgette, just to name a few there. In terms of notions that you will need for this pattern, you would definitely need some interfacing there. You will also need a 20-inch zipper for View A, hook and eye, you'll need some twill tape. Now, if you are doing view C or D, the only thing that you need is a hook and eye unless you're gonna wear it open. In terms of the bag, which is view E, you're going to need a frog closure just to keep it closed as well. But those are all the notions and the fabric that you're gonna need for this pattern. Let's go ahead and move over to the next one, which is New Look 6786. All of the patterns are New Look, so I'm just gonna tell you the number from here on out. Once again, this collection runs from 6785 to 6794. Let's go ahead and get into 6786. So for 6786, it's a missus dress with belt and purse. Now this pattern right here reminds me of a pattern that I already have in my stash. It's 6341, New Look 6341. I'm gonna put it up on the screen so you're able to see that as well. Now this dress is a day or evening dress. It have bodice with princess seams, full skirt, sleeve and neckline variations, and a clutch purse. Now it also features an optional self belt with purchase, slide buckle, closure, or a sash. View E is your clutch purse that have a snap closure for sure. Now, in terms of sizing, it's one size, 8 to 18 on that pattern. It is an average to sew pattern. So let's talk fabrics. So in terms of fabric for this pattern, you could use cotton, crepe, linen, PK, sateen, just to name a few there. In terms of notions, you're going to need one 22-inch zipper and a hook and eye closure. Don't skip out on the 1-inch belt buckle that you're going to need for that. If you are doing the purse or clutch, you need one medium snap for that. All right. So once again, this pattern is 6786. Let's move over to the next pattern, which is 6787. So this is what they like to call a junior corset, but baby, this is not a junior corset. This is an adult corset, pant and skirt pattern. Now, let me say this. My girl, Anisha from Love for Sewing on Instagram, she did this, I want to say 2 months ago actually almost 3 months ago in June when we did Hot Girl Summer for New Look pattern. That pattern is New Look 6242. So that's why I said this is a repeat pattern. Like, I'm going to act like, don't act like you don't know it's repeat. All right, so if you have not seen that, make sure you go over to Instagram to my girl Anisha from Love for Sewing. I'm going to put it up on the screen so you're able to see that as well. I have a complete video roundup of Hot Girl Summer and what all my ladies sewn for a Hot Girl Summer. But this pattern is New Look 6242. The pants, the same pattern. The corset, same pattern. But let's go ahead and talk about this pattern, 6787. So this is a corset pattern. It have neckline and trim variation, boning and side zipper closure. The pants and pleated skirts have a side zipper closure as well. And then the skirt have optional trim. This is an average to sew pattern. So in terms of sizing for this pattern, they say it's 3/4 to 13, 14. And I think that's basically the size of a junior size instead of a missus size. Now, I want to say the 6242 is an adult pattern. They could potentially be doing this as a junior pattern to kind of give a mommy and me effect. I don't know, but I'm just going to say you could try it out if you do not have that pattern, 6242, which a lot of individuals picked up during the Hobby Lobby 99 cents that sale that they had back in April. I'll put it up on the screen here so you're able to see that video. Drop it in the description box below so you're able to go to that video as well as include it on the end screen. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the fabric and the notions that you will need for this pattern 6787. So in terms of the fabric and the notions that you will need for this pattern, in terms of fabric, you can use brocade, crepe, satin, crepe or crepe back satin, I should say for that. You can use jacquard, satin, shang tug, just to name a few of the fabrics that you can use. In terms of notions, you're going to need some boning, zippers, Just to name a few of the things that you're going to need. You're going to need some ribbon as well for this pattern. So don't skip out on anything on this pattern. But once again, that pattern is 6787. Let's move over to the next one, which is 6788. Now, let me go back and tell you which patterns that I will be picking up. So far, none. But let's continue with 6788. So this pattern is a Mrs. Trench coat in 2 lengths and a belt. So let's get into the description. Well, first, let me tell you what this pattern reminds me of. So you guys know that New Look has been kind of like repositioning themselves for Vogue pattern. This is Vogue 9367, which I have in my stash. I actually have 3 copies of this pattern. Don't ask me why, but yes, I'm keeping all 3 of them. All right, and I think I have 2 in the larger range and then 1 in the smaller range size pattern, which is why I probably have 3. But let's get into this pattern. Once again, it reminds me of Vogue 9367. Let's talk about what this pattern is. So it's a very loose fitting unlined coat. It has double breasted button front closure, drop shoulder with shoulder pads, back neck dark, notch collar, side seam pockets, self carriers, belt with purchase slide buckle, and length variation. This is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing for this pattern, it features 1 pattern size, which is extra small to extra large there. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric for this pattern, you will need to use gabardine, poplin. You could also use some raincoat fabrics for that as well. Let's talk notions. So in terms of notions, you will need 11 1-inch buttons if you are doing either view A or B. You're also going to need a 2-inch buckle, and then the shoulder pads are optional. Just make sure you use a 1/2 inch shoulder pads for that as well. But once again, that pattern is 6788. Let's move over to the next pattern, which is 6789. Now, 6788, I will be picking up. I have it, but I may not pick it up. No, actually, I'm not going to pick it up. But let's move over to 6789. So 6789 is a Mrs. jacket. And this pattern reminds me of New Look 6028, which I already have in my stash, by the way. But let's go ahead and talk about it. So this pattern is a jacket pattern that have princess seams, neckline, trim, and sleeve length variations. It features average to sew on the, in terms of the pattern rating is average to sew. In terms of sizing, is 8 to 18 on that pattern. Let's talk fabrics. So in terms of fabrics, you can use brocade, jacquard, linen, lightweight wool or wool blends, PK, satin, sheersucker, twill, just to name a few. Don't skip out on the lining fabric because you will need some lining for this jacket. In terms of notions, you can use optional shoulder pads for that. You're also going to need 4.5 yards of flexible braid if you are doing view B. If you're doing view C, you're going to need 8 buttons. View D, you're going to also need 2.5 yards of pre-gathered lace. And then view E, you're going to need 3 buttons for sure for that as well. But once again, this pattern is 6789. I'm skipping out on that. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the next pattern, which is 6790. So 6790 definitely reminds me of a Vogue pattern. And that Vogue pattern is Vogue 8772. Now, you guys know our rich auntie Anita just completed this pattern. Karen from Kokika, I think is her name, on Instagram as well as here on YouTube. I'm going to put her handle up on the screen, Karen. She have done this pattern as well, Vogue 8772, many of times. So definitely check both of those ladies out if you are interested in this pattern, Vogue 8772. Now I'm going to skip this pattern only because, like, how many button-down shirts do I need? And plus, because Vogue 8772 is so good. I have sewn this pattern many moons ago when it first came out. So I don't think I need to pick it up again, but let's go ahead and get into this pattern. So this is a Missus blouse with 2 sleeve lengths. It features a fitted bodice. It has pointed shirt collar band, shaped hemline, darts, and a narrow hem. So view A features short sleeves, view B features long sleeve with a continuous lap, pleats, and button cuffs. This is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 1 pattern envelope, size 6 to 18 on that pattern envelope. Let's talk notions and fabric. So in terms of fabric, you can use chiffon fabric, handkerchief linen fabric, lightweight jersey, jacquard, just to name a few. Now, if you're doing view B, you're going to need some lightweight sew-in interfacing. And then in terms of notions, if you are doing view A, you need 8 half-inch buttons, and then view B, you need 12 half-inch buttons for that. Once again, this pattern is $67.90. Let's go ahead and get into the next one. I think this is the only one that I think it is a dupe or a repeat of a pattern, but I just can't think of what pattern that may be. So if you know, drop it in the comment section below so you can let me know, so I can let everybody else know, like, hey, this is a repeat pattern, all right? But this pattern is New Look $67.91. So let's go ahead and get into the description for this pattern. So this pattern is a Missus knit top. And this knit top is a 3/4 sleeve top A and sleeveless top, which is view B. It also features front crossover details. You have your short sleeve top, which is view C. It has a front armhole cutout as well, which is view C. This is an easy to sew pattern. This is a just for knit pattern as well. In terms of sizing, it's 1 pattern envelope, 6 to 18 on that pattern. Now for fabrics, you're going to need any type of stretch knits, which will be your interlock, your jersey, your jacquard, lightweight sweater knits will work for this as well. And guess what? Get this. This is a no notion pattern. So get into this pattern because it is a no notion pattern. You're welcome. All right, so we finally got a no notion pattern. Let's see if we could get a elastic only pattern. I doubt it. But let's go ahead and get into the next pattern, which is $67.92. So for $67.92, it's a Missus skirt. And of course, this pattern reminds me of a pattern that I already have in my stash, okay? And this pattern reminds me of Butterick 6060 for the skirt. Yes, 2 different views. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Of course, I will be skipping this pattern as well, but let's go ahead and talk about it. So this pattern is a pencil skirt in 3 lengths. It has front princess seams and back darts. It features view A is knee length and view B have back slits. So view A has like a peplum and optional trim there. View C is a mini length, and then view D is your mid calf length skirt. Now all of them have the side front slit for view C and view D, and then all skirts have the back invisible zipper closure. This is an easy to sew. In terms of sizing, it's 1 pattern envelope, which I don't feel like that is size inclusive, which is size 4 to 16. So one thing that I will say that if you are outside of that size 16 measurement, definitely have to size this pattern up. So that's why I'm gonna opt to say, if you can find Butterick 6060, go with that pattern because I believe that one goes all the way up to a size 22, all right? So if you like this pattern, you know, I like skirts, but I'm not like the biggest on skirts. I prefer a dress over a skirt any day, unless it's like a flowy, long broom style skirt or a tiered skirt. I'm game for that, all right? Let's take a pause for the calls right quick, and let me tell you what I have on, which, you know what, we'll save that. Let's go ahead and get into the next pattern. Oh, let's talk about fabric and notions for this pattern, which is $67.90. So, I'm sorry, $67.92. So in terms of the fabrics you could use, cotton, cotton blend, crepe, jacquard, wool, just to name a few there. In terms of notions, of course, you're gonna need at least a 7-inch invisible zipper. And then for view A, you're going to need some ribbon there as well. So once again, this pattern is $67.92. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, which is $67.93. And $67.93, of course, y'all know it reminds me of a pattern that my girl Shelly Shell, she did for, of course, hashtag Hot Girl Summer, and she rocked it with her denim upcycle. And the pattern that she used was New Look 6623 for that pattern. So it's the same pattern. So let's go. And of course, I'm going to be skipping this pattern. I think this whole collection I'm going to skip except for one pattern, which we'll get there here shortly. All right. So let's go ahead and get into the description of this pattern. So this is the missus skirt in 2 length. The skirts are fitted through the hips and have facing, invisible side zipper, narrow hems, and length variation. And then view B features a side slit. It is easy to sew for this pattern. In terms of sizing, this one pattern envelope, size 6 to 18 on that envelope. And then let's go ahead and talk about fabrics. So in terms of fabrics, you're going to need a crepe, a satin, a challis, or a crepe de chine. You're also going to need some lightweight fusible interfacing for that facing as well. And in terms of notions, you're going to need a 7-inch invisible zipper. You can use a hook and eye closure if you choose, but you guys know I 86 hook and eyes as much as I can, all right? But that's the pattern description for this pattern, which is New Look 6793. Let's go ahead and get into the next pattern, which is 6794. This is where we're going to take a pause for the calls to talk about what I have on, because what I have on, I pulled out of my closet for a reason. Because when I looked at this pattern, 6794, it definitely reminds me of what I have on, which is Simplicity 1421, which I have a complete sew along on the channel for that one, including how you do the collar with the bias tape. Okay, so let me just say, $67.94, that jacket is fire. However, so it reminds me of that, but it also reminds me of New Look 6035, which I also did a complete sew along for that pattern on the channel already as well. So it reminds me of both of those patterns, but it really reminds me of this one, Simplicity 1421, because it is fitted. So let's go ahead and get into the pattern description for this pattern. So this pattern features a fitted unlined jacket. It has notch collars, patch pockets, long sleeves, bust darts, and stitched hem. And view B features the ankle length pants that have the invisible side zipper. This is an average to sew pattern for this pattern. In terms of sizing, this one pattern envelope, size 8 to 20 on that pattern. So let's go ahead and talk fabric. So if you are doing the jacket, you can use jersey, ponte knit, cotton knit, sweatshirt fleece, just to name a few there. In terms of view B, the pants, gabardine, ponte, poplin, crepe, linen, just to name a few there. You're going to need some fusible interfacing. So let's talk notions. So for view A, the jacket, you're going to need 3 buttons, preferably about 3/4 inch buttons for that. And then view B, the pants, you're going to need 1 7-inch invisible zipper and a hook and eye closure. Now, speaking of the jacket, you can also use McCall's 8433. The only difference with that pattern is it's more of a relaxed fit instead of a fitted jacket, but they are both unlined. You can use either one. If you can find Simplicity 1421, pick it up and sew along to my sew along for that pattern. Now, I have not done a sew along for McCall's 8433. You guys have asked me to do one, and because this month, in the month of September, Simplicity is doing Sew the Decade. I don't know. I like the 90s. 90s and the 80s are my jam, but I also like the 70s. I don't know if I'm going to be able to participate, only because I have a crap load of stuff on my list to sew. Okay, so I'm gonna hope I can, but I'm not gonna promise you anything. All right, but this is $67.94. Let's go ahead and get over to actually, that was the last pattern in this collection. All 10 patterns for New Look. I'm sorry to tell you, but I find all 10 patterns to be what? totally trash, okay? So this is a busted trash collection of new look patterns. So I'm sorry to be the one, you know, the mirror of bad news. I'm gonna save my coins. Let me know if you are going to be picking up any of these new look patterns. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. And if this video was educational, inspiring, and fun, please do not forget to hit that like button, subscribe button, also smash that notification bell so you are notified every time your girl uploads a new video. Also, stay tuned for September 22nd as me and my girl Diana will be coming live on YouTube for some Beat the Clock. Episode 2 of Beat the Clock. If you are interested in going live with me on YouTube for some Beat the Clock, please make sure you DM me on Instagram so we can schedule a time to get it going. But yes, September 22nd at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, my girl Diana and I will be live on YouTube for 2 hours for Beat the Clock. Stay tuned for the flyer, and I'll go ahead and put the flyer up right here so you're able to see it. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. And if this video was educational, inspiring, and fun, please do not forget to hit that, once again, like button, subscribe button. Also, smash that notification bell so you are notified every time your girl uploads a new video. And thank you guys so much for 7K subscribers on this channel. Well, that's it for this video. Until next time, keep sewing.
Yeah, I got a story to tell. I know they want me to fail. If they throw me into a cell, I know wifey, she paying the bill. Cause I can't afford to be quiet. My city is dying and children are crying. Be alert, not devour. The enemy's prowling you just like a lion. But we got the keys, I promise you. Hold on to the peace inside of you. No, I'm not alone. You're not alone. You got an army who follows you. It's time to rise up, lift your eyes up. Yeah, hope is on the way. And we gon' be the change.